It's come back to the pregnancy.
Gastritis, sometimes they come with hematemesis also,
Okay.
which is difficult to manage. Especially, we advise them to take lots of electrolytes, juicy fruits.
First trimester spontaneous abortion. So how to
Yeah.
recognize and how the patient has to come in emergency.
Many times, early pregnancy, they'll not be knowing they're pregnant.
Most of the pregnancies which have been saved in first and second trimester have incidences in the third trimester. What
Yes.
are the causes for those?
Definitely, it affects both mother and the baby.
Of late, what does the statistics say? Whether the maternal mortality is coming down? If it is coming down, what do you think is contributing for low mortality? Let's come back to the pregnancy. So we finished the counseling part. When you have to advise on a diet, do you recommend a dietitian or you yourself advise a diet for them?
Taking a dietitian's advice is very good if it is accessible
Okay.
and if they are okay with meeting them.
Okay.
Otherwise, we do give them dietary advice
Okay.
starting in early pregnancy. Especially early pregnancy, nausea, vomiting is very common. And if they have too much of nausea, vomiting, sometimes they end up in renal failure also
Okay.
because of extreme dehydration.
But
We
if
do
you have
advise
to
them.
tell a diet for a public, okay, what would you recommend them to eat and what would you recommend them to avoid?
Yeah, regarding diet, balanced diet, especially in pregnancy, with extra recommendations. How much carbohydrates they should take, proteins they should take, what to be avoided. Especially spicy food with added nausea and vomiting of pregnancy, it can cause gastritis.
Okay.
Gastritis, sometimes they come with hematemesis also,
Okay.
which is difficult to manage.
Okay.
And water fluid intake, especially we advise them to take lots of electrolytes, juicy fruits,
Okay.
all these to avoid dehydration, to take lots of fluids. Regarding non-vegetarian food, they better avoid in early pregnancy.
Okay.
It's heavy
Okay.
and also with pregnancy, nausea, vomiting, it will increase. And outside food, especially we don't know whether it is safe or not,
Yes.
with additives, coloring agents. Though government has made a rule to avoid coloring agents, we do see in some places because they attract many people now.
Okay.
Yeah, better to be avoided. We do advise them not to take raw papaya.
Okay.
Raw papaya is known to be an abortifacient.
Okay.
To take less papaya which is ripe,
Okay.
and pineapple, and few of the vegetables, what is called suvarna gede, I don't know,
Okay.
that to be avoided.
Are they scientifically proven or it's just that experience?
See, many of the natural products, especially CFTRI people are very much concerned about all these.
Okay.
Many studies they have done.
Okay.
Whatever knowledge we know about all these things, we do recommend.
The first trimester spontaneous abortion. So how to
Yeah.
recognize and how the patient has to come in an emergency.
Spontaneous abortion or threatened abortion. Many times, early pregnancy, they'll not be knowing they're pregnant.
Okay.
They come with little bleeding, or they say it is irregular periods and come with heavy bleeding. We do ask them about the menstrual history and whether they are married or they are using contraceptives. If they have missed the period, is the bleeding heavy? And taking the history, we come to know most of the times whether she is pregnant or whether it is pregnancy related bleeding. Early trimester bleeding, Sometimes they'll not come with the history of bleeding. When we do routine scanning, we'll come to know there is internal bleeding. There's a threatened abortion with or without cardiac activity.
Okay.
Then we do take care, we'll ask them to not to do heavy work and take care, and we do put them on some medications, injectables and oral medications also. And follow-up is very much essential. See, sometimes they stop bleeding, they don't come.
Okay.
After few weeks or months they come, we find fetal is absent. That we should follow. Follow-up is very much necessary. If they do come with heavy bleeding, they need admission, evaluation and proper management.
What has been the supplements and vaccination protocol during pregnancy?
During pregnancy, we do recommend them to take tetanus injection,
Okay.
which is very much essential. We do give 2 doses of tetanus. Before they used to give 3 doses. Now the 2 doses. I do recommend them the first dose to be taken around 12 weeks after the period of organogenesis. Some people do advise before 12 weeks also. And the second dose after a month of first dose. And other vaccinations like HPV, this one, and especially the other infection related vaccinations we do avoid. This one, HPV, we do recommend after delivery. Especially we counsel them during antenatal checkups. Soon after delivery they can have. And regarding common cold and these viruses, yeah, there are vaccinations which can be taken during pregnancy. Influvac and all. Around 5th, 6th month we do recommend them. And along with the tetanus, we do have triple vaccination, like which is more helpful for the baby also after delivery, which includes tetanus, pertussis,
Okay.
and that we give after 28 weeks nearing delivery. We do recommend.
And when do you start folic acid and calcium for them?
Folic acid is such an important vitamin. If they come to us for pre-marital and pre-pregnancy counseling, we do recommend 2 or 3 months before they plan for pregnancy to avoid fetal cranial complications, especially neural tube defects. Folic acid is a water-soluble vitamin, not at all harmful. If it is in excess, it is excreted. We do recommend them to take folic acid tablets pre-pregnancy, and if they come in early in pregnancy, as soon as they come, we do give them folic acid.
And calcium?
Calcium, it can be started as early as 10 to 12 weeks. We do recommend them to take calcium supplements and calcium with food with high calcium diet, especially to prevent pre-eclampsia. We do give in high doses.
Okay.
Calcium up to 2 grams we do advise.
And since most of the Indian population are deficient in vitamin D,
D.
okay, do we supplement it?
Yeah, nowadays when they go for health check, or many people are health conscious nowadays, they do get themselves done vitamin D and B12. Vitamin D is very important for fertility also.
Okay.
We do recommend them during pregnancy. Vitamin D oral medications, especially if it is if they are very much deficient, we do recommend vitamin D injections before they plan for pregnancy. Vitamin D we give weekly once for 2 or 3 months, and do check if they are too much deficient or okay. If it is okay, then monthly tablets will do.
When it comes to the antenatal checkups, so how exactly do you suggest them to, how frequently do you suggest them to visit for antenatal checkups?
Yeah, First, as soon as they miss the period, they are recommended to meet an obstetrician. Many of them do.
Okay.
Sometimes with the social, this one, families, they tell them not to go up to 3 months. Many of them come early,
Okay.
and they come, if they come early, we do confirm the pregnancy and tell them to counsel them. We do scan even early in pregnancy to know whether the pregnancy is intrauterine or extrauterine. Sometimes even the tubal pregnancies, other pregnancy in other places other than uterine cavity, they are asymptomatic. We do ask them to do a scan. And for antenatal checkups, monthly up to 28 weeks.
Okay.
After that, we do ask them to come every fortnight up to 36 weeks, and then after 36 every week, provided it is a healthy pregnancy, no high risk there.
Okay.
High risk pregnancies are recommended. Frequent visits, follow-ups, BP record, sugar monitoring.
And how often is the scans recommended?
Scans, people do ask us whether it is not harmful doing many scans. We don't do many scans. The bare necessity, what we think, is early pregnancy, like as soon as they come. We do want to see whether it is intra or extrauterine, whether the pregnancy is a live pregnancy or without cardiac activity. And around 12 weeks, that's an important scan to know NT, nuchal thickness, to rule out aneuploidy.
Okay.
Easiest way to see people is Down syndrome or Down syndrome symptoms. We do explain them
Okay.
so that they agree for NT scan. And we take family history. Do they have family history of Down syndrome or other chromosomal anomalies, mental retardation? Then we do advise them. Routinely, we don't go for special tests like antenatal pregnancy tests like NIPT. With the high risk pregnancy and family history of Down syndrome and all, we do advise them NIPT. If they are affordable and knowledgeable,
What is NIPT?
NIPT is non-invasive prenatal testing.
Okay.
That's a maternal blood test.
Okay.
See, if they have high-risk pregnancy history with the chromosomal anomalies in the same lady with previous pregnancies or family history, we do advise them as early as possible, like even at 9 weeks, they can go for chorion villus biopsy, testing with the placenta, placental blood and placental tissue. We can come to know many of the chromosomal anomalies, which aids in early pregnancy termination with less complications. In IPT, we do advise them as early as 12 weeks to 14 weeks. That's the most accurate test, which is 99% accurate. Specificity, sensitivity is all maximum with that. Double marker test we do advise, which is less expensive. Double marker test is done between 13 to 11 weeks to 13 weeks. That's the earliest period we can do, which can tell us about this Down syndrome and two more things. Trisomy 13 and 18. 13 and 18 are the most troublesome, this one, which can end up in abortion. This Down syndrome, they can carry on with a pregnancy till term, but the complications associated with trisomies, major thing is mental retardation and other systemic complications, the anomalies with the cardia, intestine, duodenal atresia, many of the cardiac problems. If it is recognized early, it's better rather than having a mental retarded baby at term. We do advise them termination within feasible limits of gestational age.
What complications do you expect during second trimester?
Second trimester commonest is pre-eclampsia and eclampsia. That is hypertension.
Okay.
Usually, hypertension in pregnancy starts after 20 weeks.
Okay.
If it appears in less than 20 weeks, we should think of other maternal pre-existing medical problems,
Okay.
renal or pheochromocytoma, adrenal related,
Okay.
this one, or essential hypertension occurring in early
Okay.
age. Usually after 20 weeks, the hypertension is common, what we call as pregnancy-induced pre-eclampsia.
Okay.
We do recommend them to go for a regular BP monitoring,
Okay.
home BP monitoring. We do advise them hypertensives, and regular follow-up is very much essential, and they should know about the warning signs
Okay.
when they have hypertension, whether they end up with eclampsia, that is convulsion, and other organ problems, systemic problems
Okay.
associated with hypertension. That's one thing. In second trimester, bleeding during pregnancy, or pain abdomen. Pain abdomen, they should be conscious about abortions and forthcoming preterm deliveries,
Okay.
or placental complications like placenta, whether it is situated in the lower segment of uterus, what we call as placenta previa,
Okay.
or abruptio placenta, that is separation of placenta before delivery.
When should we start testing the sugars of a mother, and what exactly is gestational diabetes?
To be frank, testing for sugars
Yeah.
pre-pregnancy,
Okay.
it's very important. Many of them will go for a health check before they get married, after marriage, to know the health status, vitamin D status, hemoglobin, especially hemoglobin. And anemia incidence has come down drastically now.
Okay.
Before, we used to see pregnant ladies with hemoglobin 4 also. Nowadays, it is less, but we do see, because of this nutritional taboos. They eat many things which are not preferred, and junk foods. They don't concentrate on healthy diet. Anemia should be looked into.
Okay.
As soon as we do all the investigations to know the hemoglobin first, hemoglobin, sugars, and if they miss to do pre-pregnancy, these tests, if they are not done, early pregnancy, even with the first visit, we do a random blood sugar at least.
Okay.
If they have come with the full stomach and all, we can't ask them to come on empty stomach because of pregnancy, nausea, vomiting.
Okay.
Whenever they visit us, we do the blood sugar test and keep monitoring them. Especially second trimester, we do ask them to go for GCT and GTT depending on the health, the history, family history of diabetes, and relatives like mother or sisters having gestational diabetes.
Okay.
We do ask them to go for GCT at least. Whenever they come, we can do GCT. If they don't have vomiting, nausea, we give them GCTs with 50 grams of glucose, or the most recommended is GTT. We give 75 grams glucose. We do take a test after 2 hours postprandial, and when possible, we ask them to get one fasting sugar also.
Okay.
Depending on the blood sugars, we do advise them.
The hypertension and the diabetes which is acquired during pregnancy, will it subside after pregnancy, or will it stay
Yeah.
for the rest of their life?
As I told you, usually pregnancy associated hypertension starts after 20 weeks. And the sugars also, usually in the second and third trimesters.
Okay.
That's why we keep screening them and monitoring if they are diabetic. Hypertension, as the statistics goes on, pregnancy-induced hypertension usually disappears after. Once the placenta comes out,
Okay.
as you see in OT,
Yeah.
it will come down. hypertension will come down. But as per statistics, they say 40% of the people, they develop hypertension in later pregnancy.
Okay.
That's why postpartum monitoring for hypertension and later in life,
Okay.
like screening and visiting a doctor, getting health check done is very important. And even the diabetes also. Soon after delivery, sugars will come down.
Okay.
And very few will continue to have hypertension and diabetes
Okay.
continuing even after delivery.
Okay.
If the BP and sugar comes down soon after delivery, after a month, we do recommend them to go for sugar test.
Okay.
We do GTT only,
Okay.
glucose tolerance test, and regular follow later.
Uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension, how does it affect the baby?
Uncontrolled diabetes, yeah, definitely it affects both mother and the baby. Babies will grow faster with extra deposit of fat on the shoulders,
Okay.
what we call as macrosomia,
Okay.
which is very important, especially during labor and delivery, ending up with complications like shoulder dystocia. And during pregnancy, if the sugars are not well monitored and controlled, see, ladies shouldn't go for hypoglycemia also or hyperglycemia. Hypoglycemia, there can be sudden infant fetal demise inside the uterus. Heartbeat can stop because of hypoglycemia.
Okay.
And hyperglycemic mothers, they should maintain the sugars well. Otherwise, with hypoglycemia, the chance of intrauterine fetal demise, and with hyperglycemia also. Soon after delivery, we expect the neonatologist to monitor blood sugars for the baby.
Okay.
Most of them will go into hypoglycemia.
Okay.
Sugar monitoring in NICU is very important. If they go for hypoglycemia, they do start with intravenous glucose monitoring. Later, early breastfeeding, maintaining nutrition for the newborn is very important. Later in life, they are prone for diabetes.
Most of the pregnancies which have been saved in first and second trimester have incidences in the third trimester. What
Yes.
are the causes for those?
Later in third trimester, they can develop diabetes, antepartum hemorrhage, abruption. Placenta previa, though, we would have diagnosed in early pregnancy with scans and history and all. Yes, abruptio placenta is very important. Sometimes it is occult, that is bleeding inside without any signs. The lady can come with reduced fetal movement or absent fetal movement.
Okay.
Suddenly, if there is massive placental separation, lady can end up with intrauterine fetal demise also.
That would have been very painful for the mother
Yes,
to go through.
definitely.
How do you counsel them?
Counseling is very difficult. We also become emotionally disturbed many a times because so long it is a healthy pregnancy, we keep counseling them, we keep telling them everything is going on well. Suddenly, if she comes with these problems, it's very difficult for us to counsel them. We do try to make them understand, the couple and the family, such things can happen occasionally. We don't expect them to happen. Unexpected things can happen in pregnancy.
What is a safe gestation to deliver the baby?
It's around completed 37 weeks.
Let's see.
If everything goes on well.
Okay.
Especially it is 39 weeks.
Okay.
With high risk pregnancy, we do plan accordingly,
Okay.
depending on the gestational age, baby's condition, fetal monitoring we do,
Okay.
fetal well-being we do monitor. Depending on all these case to case basis, we decide.
Okay.
It's not universal that everybody should deliver after 40 weeks, after 37 weeks, like that. Especially Indian babies,
Okay.
as they cross term, like 39-40 weeks,
Okay.
many of them will end up with meconium.
Oh. Okay.
Meconium, even without other factors, high risk factors.
Okay.
We don't know why this happens.
Okay.
Because people do ask us, why can't we wait up to 41 weeks, 42 weeks? Abroad, they deliver at 42 weeks, 41 weeks.
Okay.
We can't do that. Many a times.
When do you
When they
call-
come at 41 weeks, there's no other way. We have to deliver them monitoring. If everything goes on well, okay. If there is any problem intrapartum, they do end up with C-sections.
When do you call it as a premature baby? Premature baby.
Premature baby is less than 37 weeks.
Okay.
It's divided into mild, moderate, severe preterm.
Okay.
Less than 28 weeks is severe preterm.
Okay.
28 week to 36 weeks, borderline or moderate. And 36 to 37 around that is okay. Many of them do well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
they do well.
Yeah, especially if there is associated maternal complications, maternal risk,
Okay.
we do plan for delivery
Okay.
around that period and take care that we do give them steroids, antenatal steroids, 2 doses. Will be well prepared to deliver them. And to avoid respiratory problems in the newborn, we give 2 doses of steroids antenatally, preferably 48 hours prior to delivery, if it is a planned delivery.
Okay. How is the conduct of labor changed over years?
Yes, people do tell us that they have done yoga, they
Okay.
have done some exercises, and they want to have normal delivery.
Okay.
We do want to have normal delivery. Who wants to take them up for C-section with so many anticipated risks? If everything goes on well, like less risk pregnancy, no risk during pregnancy, and they do get labor pains at proper time and they progress very well. See, for normal labor and delivery, there are so many things. Mother should cooperate, uterus should cooperate, baby should cooperate. Everything we take into account. We do assess the pelvis and fetal size to rule out cephalopelvic disproportion and see whether they are getting progressing well without any risk, and fetal heart and all we do monitor. If everything goes on well, normal delivery is the best. We do prefer them to deliver normally.
But do you think the incidence of C-section is rising in India?
Raising nowadays, yes. Because of apprehensions, so many apprehensions, both maternal and legal aspects to the obstetrician.
Okay.
Even if small thing goes wrong, who's ready to accept?
Okay.
I think for these reasons, the cesarean rate is going high.
Yeah.
And the thing is, nowadays, people do think of time deliveries.
Okay.
As you know, we always communicate with you.
Okay.
Time deliveries. For that, we can't deliver them vaginally according to their time and maternal demands. They don't want to go for labor pains and they want to have safe delivery and time delivery. Then many a times we do accept, because we don't know whether, even if we have planned for a normal delivery, we can't guarantee them 100% that she is going to deliver vaginally safely with safe mother and baby. If they demand, then we do it.
I've always heard from the anesthesiologist's mouth, but today I want to listen from obstetrician's mouth
Yeah.
about labor analgesia.
Labor analgesia, yeah, we do recommend with a proper setup.
Okay.
Proper setup, and if the lady agrees, she wants to have painless labor. Most of the times it is successful and it is very good for the mother and for the obstetrician also. Few times we end up with instrumental deliveries. With labor analgesia, though the labor analgesia is stopped when she goes into second stage of labor and pushing stage, many a times lady stops pushing. You say it will not affect, but we do observe that. And for in second stage, when the head is in the low part of pelvis, we can't do anything. We end up with instrumental deliveries. Instrumental deliveries like ventouse and forceps. High forceps and ventouse are not at all recommended nowadays. With risk, we do go for C-sections. If the head is low in the pelvis and there is fetal distress and maternal exhaustion, we end up with instrumental deliveries which are not very safe.
When do you start counseling them for labor analgesia?
Labor analgesia. Yeah, when they come in early trimester, we start telling them about the pregnancy, how they should go on with the pregnancies, and we do counsel them. We do antenatal parent crafting classes to know about the pregnancy and labor. Labor, we do explain. I do explain them. I do explain them the stages of labor.
Okay.
As far as they can understand. They are educated and gone through Google Doctor, many things. To some extent, they'll understand. That's an ongoing process. As soon as they become pregnant, we keep counseling them and telling them about the labor.
See,
And we do tell her parents who have experienced the labor pains to counsel them, keep telling them regarding this. And
see, labor or C-section is one situation where the relatives are waiting outside. It's a joy moment for a mother, father, family, and all such things. But as doctors, we have noticed that there are certain complications, grave
Yes.
complications, especially where we have witnessed death of the patient on table. Okay. So how do you deal with such situation, and what do you want public to know, that what are the complications that can occur during delivery?
Yes.
C-section?
Antenatally, during third trimester, we do keep telling them regarding, not to scare them or not to tell them too much about it. If we keep telling them too much about it, lady will end up with other complications before she goes into labor. During labor, we should be extremely vigilant. We should have efficient staff in the labor room to monitor labor, to monitor fetal heart, to know and inform us, because we can't stay in the labor room all through labor. As soon as we come to know about warning signs, we do counsel the relatives. Counseling the laboring patient, not easy.
Okay.
And she'll not understand. She'll be in her own world
Okay.
with the labor pains and thinking of the baby and all. We do counsel the husband and relatives
Okay.
regarding this, and we keep telling them if there is any problem during labor or the baby passes motion during labor, if there is no progress, and the fetal heart monitoring, if there is any variation, then we should take up for C-section on an emergency basis. And other things like bleeding and all, we make them understand.
Okay.
Sometimes it is difficult for us to make them understand. We try to do that.
Can you quote any real life scenario where the patient has died on table during C-section?
Yeah, but it was not my case though. Lady, she was in labor. I didn't know about the labor process, what happened and all, because she was not my client, and she was taken up for emergency C-section. I happened to go into the OT at that time. Suddenly, soon after the baby came out, mother collapsed. Anesthetists, they were so vigilant, started resuscitating her, and she couldn't be revived. That was a case of amniotic fluid embolism. It's the most unexpected thing. amniotic fluid embolism can occur during normal labor also, or during C-section. It's a condition wherein the amniotic fluid contents, they enter the vasculature and enter the maternal heart and lungs, which can lead to sudden shock and collapse. That's the deadliest thing can face, any obstetrician and anesthesiologist can face. Very difficult to make the relatives understand.
Of late, what does the statistics say? Whether the maternal mortality is coming down? If it is coming down, what do you think is contributing for low mortality?
Definitely maternal mortality is coming down because of the counseling, proper antenatal care and the cooperation from the anticipating mother and family. All these things do contribute.
Okay.
Proper monitoring, pregnancy care to know the warning signs of high-risk pregnancy, hypertension, diabetes during pregnancy, and fetal monitoring. All these contribute to reducing maternal mortality. And proper care, and we should be ready to face the complications and to manage the complications.
But is this a statement which can go on a public
I
awareness?
know. To some extent, what I mean is, if there is emergency arises during C-section, in such cases, like if a lady starts bleeding,
Okay.
throughout pregnancy there was no problem at all, starts bleeding, then definitely immediate emergency C-section would have helped her, definitely.
That when the complication
Not
arises,
universally, I'm telling.
Yeah. When the complication arises,
Yeah.
because of the emergency procedure of
Yes.
C-section, it may be contributing to the decreased mortality.
Yes. Definitely that would have reduced the maternal mortality.
There is one question which the mothers ask very commonly is, can they work throughout the pregnancy?
Yes. If they are healthy, coping with their routine work, and if they can relax in between mentally and physically, yeah, they can work.
That was an amazing and extensive discussion on pregnancy, motherhood, and modern obstetrics care. Pregnancy is not just about bringing a child into the world. It's about protecting two lives with awareness, timely care, and the right guidance. Today's conversation reminds us that safe motherhood begins long before delivery with listening, understanding, support, and medical care at the right time. Thank you, Doctor, so much for coming here, for sharing such meaningful insights today. And to everyone watching, don't ignore symptoms, don't delay checkups, and never hesitate to seek expert care, because every mother deserves a safe journey into motherhood. Thank you.